Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring, let we rule them all. Hope you'll remember your towel. Get your Ulu feathers and your needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword +1. Use Valerian steel it will get you to come. To the big tank. To the big tank. The Rocky Mountain big tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
Your St. Valentine's feast-sized podcast.
Happy Valentine's Day,
Chelsea
everybody.
would do, the little...
We do the Chelsea hearts, yep.
Which always looks to me like milking the cat from Meet the Parents. But...
Milking cats. Anyway, Chelsea hearts and, hearts and stuff. So, it's Valentine's Day.
Woo!
And, we kind of have to somewhat acknowledge, though, sadly, that Ivan Reitman passed, I noticed as well. So that's not a Valentine's Day positive thing.
I am not familiar with his other stuff that he's done besides the current Ghostbusters movie.
Stripes?
Was it Stripes? Okay.
Ghostbusters, Stripes. I think he did Caddyshack. Really, honestly, if it was 80s and a comedy, he probably did it.
It's probably him.
Yeah.
He's the guilty prob.
Seriously, all kinds of stuff. But Stripes was one of my favorites too.
Okay.
I wanted a Winnebago for years after that. So
not the English soccer player. I've looked up the wrong person. That is decidedly not the person I'm looking for. So yeah, it's my day. My Valentine's Day is off to a stumble because I was going to go to this Italian bakery and pick up some goodies for tonight, and I'd never been, so I was going to be trying them out for the first time. Turns out they're closed on Mondays.
Oh no,
so
that's not good.
And of course, my timing had to be perfect because it was in between dropping off the first kid. So it's like, I've got 5 minutes to shop. I'll still get him to school in time. Then I'll get back and get the other kids and get them to school in time. And I was like, oh, nope, guess this isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to find a different bakery now that's open on Monday.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I ordered a Twin Peaks themed cardigan for Lauren about 3-4 weeks ago, and it should be arriving now.
Yesterday.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that, my wife and I. We're not really the kind of people who get into this. It's one of those, if nothing happens on Valentine's Day, we're fine. If somebody comes up with something, we're fine. But if we both are kind of stressed out about being stressed out, that's not okay. So we like that, some Valentine's Days we'll just go to the theater or something. Some Valentine's Days, we just say, Happy Valentine's Day, and then we go off about our business. It all sort of different depending on, what the situation is.
Yeah, the day itself holds no importance to Tara and myself, other than it's the day that I asked her out in high school.
Aw,
so
that actually is useful.
No, I'm sorry, let me back up. I stumbled on. I actually asked her out 2 days ago. So we actually started dating February 12th, 1990. So it's been a while.
It's been a year or two.
But Valentine's itself, we've always recognized as more of a. It's for making money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, the truth is, tomorrow is the Troy and Guy go to King Soopers and get all of the 50% off Valentine's candy days. Which
it's the holiday.
That's a more traditional thing for us than, But of course, neither one of us can now.
Right, which they stopped doing
on restriction.
They got smart. Places don't do 50% immediately after anymore. They scale it down. So the next day will be maybe 20%.
Right.
And then a week from now it'll be 25%. So that they're trying to milk. They got wise to the fact that why is nobody buying this? But then it's all gone the next day.
Right.
Because 50% chocolate tastes the same as 100% cost chocolate.
Right. Just saying. Just saying.
And
And
it's
once
more
again,
of-
I'm having the weird thing where I try to post my comic to Instagram, and Instagram goes, "Oh, your comic is at the wrong aspect ratio. It's at 128 by 1198. It needs to be at 128 by 1198." And
well, yeah, guy, get it right.
I'm like, is there like a missing pixel? What's going on with you people? I don't understand. I don't get it. I managed to, and I was pretty proud of myself, make a Valentine's comic in my show previous to this, and super high speed, low drag, get the entire comic drawn, colored, and thrown out the door in 1 hour. I was like super proud of that.
Good on you.
Thank you. So we've got a Valentine's comic just fired out on the GS Davis pages and to my Insta. So that's a plus. Springs and Springs-esque for those of you guys who are interested in my little comic strip of robots, which is, I think, nobody. But that's okay.
There's like at least
I
3
read the
people.
collections.
Right?
We
I
wait
have
till
a
they come.
collection.
We wait till they come back in hardbound.
Right, exactly. That's important.
So I believe last time somebody suggested that one of the things we could do for today's show is talk about Valentine's Day stories,
Yep.
of
Yep,
which
we
I said
talked
I
about
don't
that.
really have any, but so
Like all the times you played naked tag on Valentine's.
the 3 of us.
All three of us. There is actually a picture of Alex and me and Jeremy in bed naked. It's very funny.
We're just
It's one of my
topless. We weren't
That's right.
naked.
Yeah, I know, but it was still
In
you
his
don't know that because we had a blanket over us. That was what's so funny about it.
In his
Right.
imagination, you guys were naked. So
It's much funnier. These things always make me laugh.
it's like
It was more uncomfortable back in the day because we were still sort of in that middle mode where we realized that homosexuality was okay and we weren't homosexual and yada yada yada, but you still had to say, "I'm not homosexual." You know, like had to say it still at that point.
People still say that.
they do.
Well,
I,
I
ju-
know.
I just read a comic from a couple of years ago that they constantly say no homo in it.
Right, but
And
I'm
they're
trying to
doing it as
say
a
that
joke,
we've
but I
kind
mean,
of evolved in our group now. We've evolved past that.
Mhm.
We're now in the we just make jokes, and you know, if you assume we're homosexual, that's okay. I mean, it's not true, but it's okay, and we're okay with it. And yeah,
Was that the Boondocks? Because I remember one of the
nah,
characters
it was
doing that.
another comic. No big deal.
A few months back, I rewatched all of the Boondocks again because they can access them. There's actually I missed the entire last season. I didn't know they had another season after that. But
that was really weird.
Yeah, there's some audio weirdness there.
Yeah,
Riley's brother.
No, Huey and Riley. Yeah,
Huey and Riley.
yeah, no,
so,
but,
yeah,
but
so-
that's old stuff. Like I said, I was reading a comic like from a
more
couple of years ago.
Mhm.
So, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not gone.
humor changes. What's acceptable changes, which means humor and horror both change quickly. So,
yep. So okay,
one of you said you had a
Valentine's
Valentine's Day story.
stories. Let's
oh
see.
yeah, so stories. So that someone was probably me. Because I'm like, we're gonna do
You
a
have
Valentine's Day
stories.
thing. Let's talk about this on the air. Sorry about that, everybody.
It's
Should've-
all good
should've-
actually because
should've
I'm
taken
like
that. Should
the
have
same
taken that,
thing. I'm like,
backstage. And what are we gonna do? So let me see here. So I'm in kindergarten. I'm 5 years old,
wow.
and we're doing Valentine's. And like it's the first time. Like I'd done like some preschooling before that. I don't remember any Valentine stuff with that. And there's this girl I liked, and so my mother dutifully got like regular Valentine stuff for everybody. And I said I really
Special
wanted
one.
something special for this girl that I liked. And so we got a chocolate heart that to a 5-year-old was pretty big, and such.
And really,
And
it was like this big.
so I'm putting out, I had to like sit there and sign all the things, and I put them into boxes, and I go to her thing, and the teacher like notices, and she's like, you can't do that. You have to give everybody the same Valentines. And I'm like, what? No, yeah, people will feel left out. You have to give everybody the same Valentines. But I don't, and I tell my teacher this, I don't like everybody else like I like her.
This is so Alex.
So
Alex was Alex even at 5 years old.
So yeah.
Well,
And,
so what was the outcome? Did you get to give it to her after class or
I
something?
think I had to. I think I gave it to her on the sly, which
Yeah.
so
Nice.
And
That's. I remember the buying the 30-pack of Valentine's Day cards in school
Yeah.
because you were going to give the exact same thing to everybody, and then
mhm.
you could like Scotch tape the Smarties to them if you wanted to or something, and give those out. And
because
I
there's
always thought,
nothing like Smarties and Scotch tape
yeah.
as a taste.
But I remember that being a thing back then. Is the at least at one point, and it was like first or second grade, somewhere around there, they enforced the and this is Kentucky, of course. They
Right.
forced the boys only to give the girls Valentines, and the girls only to give the boys Valentines. It was
Right.
not it was not across the board thing. And
Make sure you guys aren't homo.
right. Speaking of that, so yeah, I forget what
Mhm.
grade they changed that at. But I do remember early on that was a thing that you had to give to the opposite gender the Valentines on those
Right.
things. Which isn't really a Valentine's story. I don't remember if this was connected to Valentine's or not, but this is also somewhere around that second to fourth grade maybe time period. I'm horrible about remembering specific things because my mind turns into Swiss cheese, which I think's a lot of PTSD mental blocking going on there. I know I'm pretty sure you never had this problem, Guy. But we're both of us being from the South. I remember admitting to my parents at one time saying, "Hey, there's this girl that sits in front of me, and she's really cute." And that, for some reason, and I'm not going to name names, I'm just going to say it was definitely one of my two parents, because I don't want to make this way. You can take a guess. Their first question to me was, and this is their words. I'm using this word knowing that it's a trigger word, and I dislike the word. It's not as bad as other words, but they said, "Is she colored?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" And like, "Well, is she white?" And I went, "No, she's not." And they're like, "Well, you can't date her."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Well, I'm not looking to date somebody, and why?" And of course, they didn't explain anything beyond that. When I got older and I was in my teenage years, my brother, whose birthday's tomorrow, um, told me a story
Happy
about how
birthday,
he
John.
was on the beach playing with somebody, and one of our parents came and dragged him away from the kid he was playing with. So this, it's good to see that my parents have grown some, and they aren't the same as they were. And
Mhm.
it's one of these things where knowing that their parents were the same and that this was passed down, that I'm glad that my brother was there to help be my guiding light and support in breaking that chain. But I can see how, without any explanation, if you follow what your parents say without question, I could have fallen into that pattern because they
Right.
didn't give me explanation. They just said, "You do this because this is what we do." But I can't remember if that was on a Valentine's Day or not. But since it was related to having crushes and stuff, it triggered that memory for
So
that.
I actually have like a connected story I like to tell because it's one of those stories that I like to tell about my dad, who we will name names. Um, there was a time when I was in Texas and I had just started dating a girl up here, and this was in junior high, high school. So this is a more serious relationship than the kindergarten relationships. Um, and and Dad and I were talking about this and stuff like this, and he knew that I had started dating this girl. And then at the time, my dad was dating somebody who had two children that were about the same age as my sister and I. So the four of us all kind of hung out together all the time. And the the daughter of this one was dating somebody at who was black. And my grandmother was on this tirade about this. She was just all screwed up about this whole thing. She was so offended that the daughter would be dating a black boy, and this was such a thing. And so my dad comes in, and he like sits next to me, and he goes, "So this girl you're dating, she's the cutest black girl I've ever seen, isn't she?" And he was just needling the hell out of my grandmother. And of course, the girl I was dating was not black. So I was trying to figure out what he was doing. And I'm like, and then he was just doing the go along with me. Go along with
Yes,
me.
yes, and my improv.
Yes, that was totally what he was doing. You could see it in his eyes. He's like, go along
Yes,
with me.
and
Your
we're
grandmother is
going straight to
being an
making
ass."
beautiful caramel colored babies.
Right. And he was doing the go along with me. Your grandmother is being an ass and she needs to be put in her place. And I was so proud of him for that. I was like, man, you were willing to go toe to toe with your mom on this one. And I was like, that was one of my proudest moments of my dad.
I missed my cue.
Right.
Say that sentence again.
Oh,
He was
wait.
willing to go toe to
You were
toe.
willing to go toe to toe with your mom.
His mom. So,
And but totally, yeah. But I was so proud of him for that one. That was, and you know what? That moment had more of a profound effect on me as an individual
mhm.
because I respected my dad and I knew that my dad was doing the right things, so to speak, because you always do.
Mhm.
And in this instance, he was literally right there saying, racism is bad. And here, we're going to take out your grandma. I mean, like, I was so proud of him for that. That
Take
was
her out,
a
kick her.
moment. That was a serious moment. So, not a Valentine's Day thing, but yeah,
Related. Your rabbit. The rabbit
it was
holes are
related
connected.
to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. let's I do have a story for
When
third
Alex
grade.
gets involved, though, the racism stories get uglier.
Well, third grade was a tough grade for me. Military
Yeah.
brat, and third grade I spent in 3 different school systems.
Right.
The first one was Idaho Falls, Idaho, and that's where I first experienced racism, overt racism, like not being able to play with a certain kid because his dad said that I couldn't. He
Right.
couldn't because I was brown, or I am brown. And then, but anyway, let's gloss over that for now.
Well, I was
And
gonna say, your stories get darker.
so the second school system I was in San Diego, California. And so and like I said, it was very, very difficult transitions. Like in Idaho, I was starting to learn how to do, like, I had to catch up like in cursive and stuff. And in San Diego, I had to catch up. Like they were doing division. And I'm like, what's division? And they're like, it's the opposite of multiplication. I'm like, yeah, what's multiplication?
Okay.
And it's like adding really quickly. And so I remember having a very difficult week learning multiplication and then division
At the same time.
pretty much at the same time. But so we moved to San Diego like in January, early February. So now we have Valentine's rolling in, and I understand the forms that must be obeyed. We must get Valentine's for everybody. We get so my mom gets like these animal themed Valentines, or maybe I pick them. I don't even remember this, but they're like cartoon animals, similar, but not exactly like Mo Willems style. Like for like Elephant and Piggy and the pigeon and stuff. So very cartoonish. And so I go to the teachers. I'm like, can I get a list of the classmates' names? So I can, because this is still when you had to like write all their names in and everything. So, and I just go down the list because I literally know nobody in my class. They don't live next to me. We don't ride the same bus.
Right.
It's crazy. So I do this, and so we're handing out the Valentines and everything, and they're all animal themed Valentines. And this third grade girl she starts like bawling and screaming and crying and like yelling at me because she was a heavy girl, and I had given her a cartoon hippo Valentine. And at that point, I was like, screw this. I'm never doing this again.
Right.
I'm never doing Valentines in school ever again. This is too much
Stress.
Just too much.
Well, and
deal with this.
As an ADDer, I forgot all the time. And it would come up on Valentine's Day, and I would have mom would have gotten the Valentines and I left them at home, or mom was just simply too busy. And since she was a single mom, she wasn't really thinking about Valentine's Day anyway, because she wasn't dating anybody and she wasn't, so there wasn't any point. So she would forget to get the Valentines, or I would forget to get the Valentines, or even worse, I would remember the Valentines the night before when mom had too much to do and there was just nothing we could do. Whatever was the deal. Valentine's Day, like Christmas, all of those structured, you have to do things just stressed me out. It's why I don't like white elephants today. Because it's not that I actually don't enjoy the white elephant part. It's just that I'm not going to remember. And then when I will suddenly remember, and when I do remember, I'll get the stupid wrong thing. Then you end up with the hippo going to the overweight girl or whatever. It's just too much. There's so much stress involved, which is one of the reasons why I think my wife and I do the Happy Valentine's Day. Do you want to do something? No? Okay, cool. And we just don't stress it. We don't stress any of that.
Up until the pandemic, Tara and I had started a tradition that we'd only done for like maybe 3 or 4 years, but there's a French restaurant right next to Alamo Draft House off of Santa Fe, and they would do a Valentine's Day special, so dinner for two, and it would include like an appetizer, dinner, and the dessert, and it was reasonably priced, and you could pick they had like 4 or 5 different choices per person off the menu, sure. And you could pick, and so we'd go do that and then go see a movie at Alamo. But of course, pandemic hit, and we're like, well, guess we're not doing that anymore. So just to update you guys, I made my insight check. I guess you could call it an insight check or perception check. And
are we not transmitting? Is that why we have no comments?
We're transmitting, and they're commenting. It's just once again StreamYard's doing that weird thing where we're not seeing our comments over here in our feed. Okay. So I'm over on Facebook, and I noticed that they were commenting, and I told them on there that hey, we aren't seeing your posts. That's why we're being rude and not talking
right
to you.
Well, I will join over onto our feed
and you can follow along too.
Wow, there's a lot of comments too.
Oh snap!
So well, it's I'll catch everybody up, but I'll just refer to initials right now. So D is for Donald and B is for Brent. So D. They trying to keep you looking good in bathing suit. I've never had a girlfriend or a date on Valentine's Day. B. Hello, Guy, Troy, and Alex. Hello, Brent. I have been so long that I figure I will never have a girlfriend for the next Valentine's Day, so it's Singles Awesome's Day.
Singles Awesome Day is good.
So it's I mean, if you're not careful, it could be Venereal Disease Day. So. Then D, I remember those heart candies with messages and Brent old age. And now have you seen the Valentines for X's, half-eaten chocolate and strawberries? I haven't seen those, but I have seen services where they send dead roses and just like other really unpleasant gifts.
How very Adams.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's kind of cool.
I've had some friends, not girlfriends, but friends that were girls who would have liked dead roses. Because they were goth and into that kind of stuff. So
because we're Adamses.
Exactly. And so yeah, but that catches up. It's actually there was more friendly banter, not so much as a directed question that we were rude by not answering.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. This it seemed like the problem was fixed and now it's doing it again.
I'm gonna full screen us so I can see if I post them. I can see them on his.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can't snag that.
I've also got Twitch and YouTube open, but nobody's on there, so which makes my job easier.
I will. I'm working this situation.
Yeah, you work on that. Let's see what else was there. So one other thing we mentioned that we could also talk about was how we met our significant other, which we had as a potential for the last show, but ran out of time. So we could do those as well. So as I mentioned earlier, I had asked my wife, now wife, Tara, out back in high school 2 days before Valentine's Day. So we had actually met in high school in Germany. We were both military brats as well. I was late to the military brat life because it happened when my mom remarried.
Your mom.
And so as far as moving around with the military, it was from Kentucky to Germany and then around Germany a little bit. And then I graduated and came back. So it wasn't as much. Although due to my mom separating, you missed it. There you go. Early, I did move around as much as a brat would move around, but within one state. But
Try to get
it
this.
was, if I remember correctly, it was social studies class, or it might have been history, but I think it was social studies class because I transferred into the school a few months after the year had started. And the seat that was open was a seat behind this redhead with glasses. And so that's the girl I sat down behind. And I was in full emo trench coat mode, wearing my green trench coat, with which I gave to Alex's sister. And so I had the Breakfast Club look going on at the time, and sort of long hair, not quite ponytail, which it became later. But Tara said when she saw me, the dark brooding worked for her a lot. So she immediately had a crush on me. I thought she was really cute, and I had a crush on her, and we became really good friends. And then the person next to us, whose name was Jonathan, was the first openly gay friend that I had made. And so we had these inside jokes between the three of us that we would always be cracking up, and luckily not getting in trouble in class somehow for. She had a best friend who I also ended up having a crush on. And it was one of these things where I didn't know which one to ask out, because I had this horrible, crippling fear of being rejected.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to ask anybody out because I don't want to get rejected. And then I heard through the grapevine that her friend liked me. And so I'd be like, oh, I will ask her then, because if she likes me, then that's going to be a yes. And so I asked her friend out, and her friend said yes. And yep. And of course, I didn't know this until later, but of course that devastated Tara, and she was really upset at her friend because her friend knew she liked me and was like, why did you say yes? You knew I liked him. But it ended up, after dating her friend for almost 2 months, a little less than 2 months, we just weren't compatible.
Right.
The things we liked to like, I'm a geek, and there's really geeky stuff I like to do even as a teenager, and she just wasn't quite into the same stuff.
Right.
And so we broke up, and then I want to say it was about 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm like, screw it, I'm going to ask Tara. And so I wrote a little note saying, hey, I like you a lot, would you like to go out with me? And then our lockers had those little slats in them, and so I dropped it through the slat in her locker because I was still too shy to give it to her in person. But yeah, then that's when we started dating, and we dated all through high school, then all through college. She went to Ohio Wesleyan, and I went to University of Louisville in Kentucky. So we had a 4-hour drive commute or a 7-hour Greyhound bus commute, which I did sometimes. And then it was 95. She graduated, moved to Kentucky. We got married. And then in 96, she got accepted here at Denver University. And so it's like, well, college is so expensive, it's cheaper to move to another state than it is to pay for college. Or graduate school. I'm sorry, it was graduate college. So she came here for her master's and fell in love with Colorado, and we've been here since. So
it was love at second sight for you.
Well, it was crush at first sight.
Crush at first sight.
I was practical enough not to believe that, you can't love somebody until you get to know them.
Right.
No, but I do think it's interesting because, like, my history is not quite the same. I mean, Mariah and I met at
Opera. It's like opera or musical, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went to see Les Mis together, and it was because she was dating Jeremy at the time, and our friend Jeremy, and they had met when she went to college up at CSU. And then so he brought her, and he had 4 tickets. So he called me and said, hey, you want to go? I was like, yeah, but I'm not dating anybody, so I'll take my mom.
Your mom.
There you go. Because I agree. Same thing. I love trench coats too, but I had to give up my trench coat right after Columbine. I wore the trench coat. I remember I wore that trench coat right after Columbine. I wore that trench coat to the Denver March powwow, and never felt so awkward in my life as being there with a bunch of indigenous people, and they were all looking at me, and I was like,
who's this white guy in a trench coat?
Yeah, white guy in a trench coat. And I'm like, uh-oh. It was a very awkward moment.
Yeah.
Especially since I'd been going to powwow forever, and I never felt out of place until that one moment. I really felt out of place. It was like,
Yeah.
oh.
When Columbine went down, I was part of the martial arts cult, and I was already in my own head. Like I was much crazier back then. I was
Right.
much less stable, and I kept wearing trench coats. I still wear trench coats, and so as an aside, of course, this is back when we were doing the whole geek commune thing. And so I don't remember if you remember this story, but of course, a lot of us are staying up late watching stuff, doing things, da, da. And so I get next time I see, I think it was Scott. He goes, "Dude, you're like famous." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." So we were watching like the Seventh Day Adventist religious show super late at night, early in the morning, and they were talking about Columbine and the trenchcoat mafia, and they had call-ins. And he goes, "This person called in, and it's like, yeah, there's this shaven-headed guy who rides my bus in a trench coat, and he always has like a shotgun case, and they're like, that can only be Alex." And they're like, yeah, I live in Denver, and they're like, it's Alex, oh my god. And they told me that. I'm like, that is hilarious.
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep doing it too.
Yeah, because that's what you used for your swords.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was also
Which
the kind of thing
weren't,
where it's like,
they were
like
all
I said, I
wooden
was
too.
crazy
I
right
mean,
then.
it wasn't like
I was
you.
very much, I will push this in your face.
Sure.
That was my attitude toward it all.
You
But
you
yeah,
were a much more aggressive person back then.
yes,
I've within the past year or two, I've gone back to. I have a nice greenish trench coat. It's kind of similar to the one like Kevin Smith has, but it's slightly more dressy. So I wear that when I go out with Tara to like. She
Mhm.
likes to go to operas and plays, and so I figured if I'm wearing a really nice shirt and the trench, it offsets the trench coat as far as looking like suspicious.
yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of want a duster now. I've kind of wanted a brown duster since Firefly,
Dusters
which
are
I think
cool.
would have been. I mean, because then I could be a
Mhm.
brown coat.
What are you
But I
supposed to
mean,
be? A space cowboy?
yeah, exactly. It'd be awesome.
Bet you weren't ready for
Um,
that. So
so
okay, guys, back to the
Yes, yes,
story.
yes.
oh
You went
yeah,
to
yeah.
Les Mis with Mariah.
So I
She
went.
was dating someone else. Forbidden love.
Right.
Continue.
Except that it was interesting. I remember going and everything like that, and it was fun, and I enjoyed being with Mariah, but I didn't think anything about it. Later, they broke up, and Mariah needed a place to stay, so she crashed out at Greenwood, which was like you were talking about, the commune of geeks. And she just lived in the wood room, which was this area that was a big wood room, which was fine. And
Sorry.
again, she was a lovely person. I enjoyed hanging out with her and stuff like that, but there was like nothing really happening there. And so that wasn't a real problem. But when my mom passed away,
Your
she
mom.
happened to be the person who was there because I had called mom and she hadn't answered. And I kept calling and she hadn't answered. And um, I was getting kind of worried because it was her birthday and we were supposed to do something on her birthday, but I didn't know what. And I was calling to say, what do you want to do on your birthday? And so I was like, I'm kind of worried. I haven't heard from mom in 3 days and I'm concerned, stuff like that. And so I got in the car and then Mariah said, I'll go with you. And I don't know what made her think to do that, but lots of people at Greenwood, she was the one that decided to go with me. And I'm grateful too, because of course we found out she had had a massive heart attack and died. And so it was one of those things where I wasn't sure I could drive. And so Mariah had to drive the car back, which was still one of those stories that we talk about all these days because it had been years since she had driven a manual. And so she had to drive the manual. It was getting rough. And I actually was like, you know what? Maybe I'm good enough to drive. She said, no, you're not. You're not qualified to drive. It was really
Like, maybe I'm good.
right. It's like really. So that meant a lot to me and had a big impact on me. And so later on, when I moved out of Greenwood to my own apartment because I started college and stuff like that, she needed a place to stay still. And so she said, hey, can I stay with you? No problem. Well, what was funny was Troy and everybody else in the group's like, haha, there is a romance going between these two. And there wasn't. Nothing. It was just a, hey, you know, she's really kind to me. She was really good to me and everything like that. And I'll take her in. It's really funny that over the time we developed an actual romantic relationship. But it wasn't happening when everybody was thinking it was happening.
It's because we kept saying it. We forced it to happen.
Right? It was like, haha, they're all having a romantic relationship. I'm now. But then it developed afterwards. And then it was like, we're having a romantic relationship. And everybody's like, yeah, right, whatever. You're just joking with us because we
Except
said
for me, I believed you were doing it all along anyway. So.
Right, exactly.
Like we already know. No.
And
We weren't dating before. Sure, you weren't.
Sure. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think that was still my favorite part of the whole thing is that like Troy was sure we were dating, and we weren't. And then when we were, I was like trying to convince Eric Farwell, and he was like, "No, you tried to pull this one on me, and it didn't work. Now I don't believe you." I'm like, that's even funnier. So it reversed. But then she went to Japan, and we both started a long distance relationship because we were like, well, you know, that was a good relationship. Maybe we should end it now. And then she went to Japan. And we're both like, no, we kind of like each other, and we maybe don't want to break up. So then I went to Japan, and the company put me within 20 kilometers of her, so that intentionally, so that we would be close together. And that was actually really cool because then we ended up spending all of Japan together, which really bonded us. And so when we came back, we decided to get married and have a kid, and here we are.
Sweet.
Hooray.
Sweet. Yeah.
So what's your story, Alex? Because I've got pictures.
Well, going back to your story, like I in my own head, and I don't know how accurate this is, but it's how I remember it. Like I didn't know you and Mariah were together until you were in Japan.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't remember you coming out to my apartment ever either.
I don't think I did. No,
yeah, so that was just a gap. There was a gap there where we were doing what we always do in our group, which is we were here, then we were here, and then we're here again.
Yeah. The empire that is long together must split apart.
Right.
The empire long divided must come together.
But I mean, I don't remember you being at the apartment. In fact, really, the only group of people I feel like I hung out with was Troy and Eric and like that core group, which the Obsidian group. We were trying to make the TV show Obsidian.
Yeah, and like I would come in and help out with some things here and there, but if we weren't.
But it was always at Troy's house.
Yeah,
when we were setting up stuff like that. So yeah,
cool.
So your story.
Okay. My story. So I moved here in 1991 with my family. I was 15, and so I went to high school here in Arvada. And Lauren and I knew each other from high school. We had some mutual friends. We were kind of in the same kind of I was in a couple different subgroups of which she was a part of, and the joke is that I dated all her friends, which is not entirely true, but it's true enough. A guy is frozen up.
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
Uh-oh.
You're getting some internet issues.
Oh, he's pixelated now.
Oh no, he's electrocuted and.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. He's now in motion.
Yeah.
It's postage stamp Wolfenstein. I don't know, but So then after high school, we both wound up working downtown, and we'd run into each other, and we'd be like, oh well, you know, let's sometimes we go out to coffee, or we'd like go see a movie, or we don't see a movie, or like, oh, you see it at the club, whatever, and then for several years, like the company I worked for moved out of downtown, and so I stopped running into her on the 16th Street Mall because I wasn't there anymore. And so then several years later, we're in the year 2000, the distant future, the year 2000. And at that point in time, I was in fighting shape. I had my head shaved. I was working Renaissance Festival. My best friend and I, we go to a dance club with some other friends of ours, including my girlfriend at the time. And we're hanging out, and we see Lauren there. We're like, oh my gosh, it's Lauren. Holy crap. We haven't seen or heard from you in like 3 years. What you been up to? She's like, I've been living out on the West Coast. Oh, makes sense. We haven't seen each other then because not going to run into each other living in different time zones. And at one part of the night, Lauren looks at me and she goes, "Why weren't you this hot in high school?" And I say to her, I'm this hot now, and that's my girlfriend over there. So we have a nice time. It's all good. And then later on, that girlfriend and I split up. I start dating yet another friend of hers from high school, which did not last. Which is
not necessarily true,
was a little bit
but
surprising
not necessarily
that it
false.
didn't. I mean, in some ways, it's not surprising it didn't last. Some ways, it was a little bit surprising that it did not last the way it did, like how it formed out. And so we're now in February of 2001, and I am going to the clubs all the time and training all the time, and I get there early because, you know, it's like when you get there early, you don't have to pay cover charge. So I'm there early, and I'm like talking to the people I know who work there and stuff. And this is back at Rock Island is the name of the club, and it's been gone for years now, but it was a pretty big one. So it's like you go up this ramp, and then like there's the door, and then there's the person at the cash register, and also usually they check IDs there too. And then when you first walk into your immediate left, there is a bar. And then if you kind of go angle, there is the main dance floor. There's also directly in front of you stairs going to another dance floor and bar downstairs. And if you go to the main floor, you go around the corner and it's up a short 3 or 4 steps all the way along the length of that wall. You have the coat check, you have another bar and all that. So I'm around the bar and I'm talking to the coat check girl, Guinevere. And just saying hi, how's it going? She said, cool, I got to do some bar back stuff. Yeah, no problem. Here's my coat. Here's a couple bucks. Thanks. I'm just sort of hanging out at the bar. And I don't drink in public, especially not then. Nowadays, I might have a beer with meals, but I'm just sort of hanging out, just waiting for other people to show up or a really good song or whatever to start getting my groove on. And this voice pops into my head. And the voice says, Lauren Suttlemeyer's walking through that door right now. And I kind of look up and I go, oh, really? And the voice says, yes. So I walk down the stairs and I look around the corner and there's Lauren showing her ID to the person at the cash register who's checking IDs right then. I'm like, all right, see where this goes. And about a month later, you know, we're hanging out and she's like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. My roommate's moving out. She and her fella are going to try to make a go of it. And they're going to get their own place. And I can't really afford the place down on Congress Park is the neighborhood. It's near Capitol Hill.
Which
Denver.
at the time was probably like $400 a month or something.
Something like that, yeah. But you know, it's and I look and I think about it, and you know what? I live in this geek commune. If I move out Wednesday, a friend of ours will move in Friday, which is I think exactly what happened. And I said to her, I was like, yeah, I can move out from where I'm at, out in, you know, Colfax and Kipling. And I'm not leaving my friends in a lurch because they'll have somebody immediately.
They'll have somebody new by 3 days later.
They'll have somebody immediately, which is what happened.
And it clearly bothered us because I don't remember that at all. I just remember you were there one day and you weren't the next day. And so,
and then I said to her, though, I said, however, if we're not going somewhere real, like I've played house a couple times, if we're not going somewhere real in the next 6 months or a year, we're done. I'm not going to sit here and continue to play house and just have a stagnant, toxic relationship. It's bad for everybody involved. And she goes, yeah, that's fair. So a couple months later, we're in our favorite bar down the street and having some food. And I go, what do you think about getting married? To like me. And she goes, yeah, I can see that. And I like smacked the table like really loudly because I'm a really loud guy. I smacked the table really loudly and I said, let's get married. So we got married in the beginning of March of 2022.
I have put pictures
of him smacking the table.
No,
okay.
But of the wedding.
Yeah. We got married we did the Justice of the Peace thing over in the Golden Taj, and Then a couple days later, we had a meal with some close friends of ours at Maggiano's downtown. We totally just crashed there. Yeah, we're here to have a nice big dinner. By the way, we're married. We're getting married right here. Thanks.
It's
Um,
pretty funny because like I have some awesome pictures of everything, but one of the best pictures is of Troy going like
Right.
this. It's so funny.
right.
So
So you
weird.
don't have
So
that,
no,
or what?
it was a good time, and yeah, we've been together
I
ever
have a lot of
since.
pictures like that of you.
Another speaking of weddings and stuff, like Lauren was
Oh.
like one time she's doing some college courses and stuff, and the students talk and commiserate and bond and stuff. And it's like one guy's like, "Oh, don't women want to have a nice wedding?" And da 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 da. And Lauren's like, "Yeah, I tend to focus on my happy marriage more so than my lack of elaborate wedding." Also, another addendum to the story. It's like we get married in March, so Easter comes around about a month later, and we're at Lauren's aunt's place and stuff, and she's got a couple of sons who are older who've been married, and her daughter hasn't been married yet. She's like 17 at the time or something, and she hasn't not in a serious relationship, no prospects for later. But her aunt, her this young woman's mother is like, "Oh, if you ever just eloped, I would just disown you." And like says this around me, like, and I look at it and I go, "Well, just make sure if you say you're gonna actually help out with the wedding with money and planning and stuff, you actually follow through on that, okay?" Because that was a big reason why we totally just eloped, because my mother-in-law said that she would help out and everything, and then just like, whoop, nope, ghost. We're like, okay, well, this wedding's not about you then, obviously. It's about us.
Interesting that I'm seeing the post over here on the left in StreamYard saying that the phone dumped him and shut off the sound.
Yeah, I was
but I'm
noticing
not
that.
seeing it in the thread.
Yeah, I'm noticing that, and I don't know if anybody said anything or not, but I'm not seeing any other posts in the Facebook thread
in the last 11 minutes. Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed that the post over here on our thing too. Well, my thing popped up over there.
Holy moly, it's 10 till 11.
I know. We better send some love to our sponsors.
Yep. Time for us to send some love to our sponsors. Let me get the sponsor thing. Okay, everybody knows the Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and
your mom.
All right.
Tell her we said hi.
Tell her we said hi. So yeah, I it's interesting because I also did the Justice of the Peace thing. We just went to the City Hall in Conroe and signed papers. I mean, really, that was mostly because neither Mariah nor I wanted to go through the headache of, oh, well, and then we have to get the right florist, and then we have to get a photographer. We didn't want to go through all that. That's just ridiculous. It's all about like, why stress out?
Yeah, the wedding that Tara and I had, I think we would have had even a smaller wedding had her parents and my parents not been more insistent on the tradition aspect. But even then, the wedding part of our wedding was really small. And then we want most of the money spent on the reception where our friends are going to be and hanging out and partying. And so we did a costume reception. And my brother dressed as an Arab terrorist. And
there you go.
My mom,
your mom,
and her sister and her mom dressed as I guess you could say gypsies, and they did the song from Fiddler on the Roof, I think it was.
There you go.
So
cool.
it was a really fun time, everybody in costumes, and then just people who are normally introverted were coming out of their shells more and just really getting into it. So it was a lot of fun. And I had a friend who dressed up as Han Solo, and his girlfriend, of course, did Princess Leia, and a mutual friend of ours did Lando. So it was a really cool trio costume with them.
That's cool. So. Yeah, I feel like of course, I feel like weddings are a very personal thing. You either decide to share it with your family and friends or not. And so I kind of feel like, for example, we actually discussed Alex's wedding when we were talking about this and saying, should we just go get a restaurant and get a big table and hang out there and whatever? And because it was pretty much about like the maximum that Mariah wanted to deal with. Mariah's a real introvert. She doesn't really like big parties. It's never been her thing. And so me personally, I've been like, I can swim through people and be happy as a clam, but she really didn't want the big thing. And I think we actually kind of started alienating her mom. Because I think that's what her mom wanted was more of that sort of larger party sort of thing. My dad and Jane, my stepmom, do we say her?
No,
stepmom?
we don't.
Okay.
They haven't warranted that.
There's a level there. There's like a gate, right? Okay. Yeah. So they came to our wedding and Dad took pictures. So at least we have photos of, Mariah and I signing the papers, and we kissed each other and stuff like that. And, and so it was, at least we have like a record of it. But it literally was, we went to the courthouse and grabbed the piece of paper and signed it. And it's even more interesting because the rings we wear, we went to Ren Fair. We went to Scarborough Fair, which is a big Ren Fair in Texas. And we found these rings, they're puzzle rings, and we love them. And so that was actually where I proposed. We had already agreed we were going to get married. But then we bought these rings and I was like, hey, will you marry me? And it was cute. And I was just being silly and stuff like that. But then we put these rings on and we were going to go back and get ones that were gold with the bands. But we really kind of liked these. So we even did do you really want to trade them out? And we're like, no, I kind of like these. So we've just kept these are our engagement rings technically. Because we just never swapped them out because we like these. We were fine. So, a lot of sort of bucking tradition going on in my couple group. But on the same token, I feel like we're very, very secure. Nothing's weird about our relationship. We're not going anywhere, or whatever. And so I don't feel like having done all of the trappings or not done all of the trappings has hurt anything. We're still.
Well, it's something that we'd talked about before with other friends of ours who have had relationships that have fallen apart. And it's one of these things of you need to find your own kind, because trying to mix mundanes with non-mundanes usually doesn't work, because we've had friends who were geeks get married to men who weren't geeks, and along the way one of the two has to change who they are, it seems, because they have trouble finding a middle ground, it seems. So
getting married in Mandalorian armor, yes.
Yeah, that's why I said this is the way.
Well, so we've got Brent on Facebook, and then we've got Donald over here on StreamYard. I'm not even really sure how this.
Well, and StreamYard says Donald is on Facebook, but I'm not seeing him appear over on Facebook.
Right, he's not over here on the Facebook feed, but I see him. I see him clearly posting over here on the StreamYard feed. I don't get it. I think StreamYard's borked.
It's interesting. So, well, it means Facebook's borked too, though.
Because I think this is Facebook that's borked. I think that's what's going on. I think Facebook has a feed problem or something, but I didn't have any problems with Restream earlier, and I was literally transmitting an hour ago, and I didn't have a problem on there. Although I didn't have anybody from Twitch or YouTube. I didn't even have my normal bots that pop in on YouTube to tell me to click on links.
Go to this Russian link.
Something going on in the interwebs. Yeah, Donald got thrown off at some point in time, and he had to reboot and come back in. And I think that really confused it or something. I don't know what happened. Yeah, it's always something these days, guys. We still love you, Donald. We still love you, Brent. It's all good.
And anyone else who's watching that's been quiet, we love you too. And we should mention that Guy and I decided. Oh wow,
you got blurry. You're all blurry.
I lost focus.
Yeah, I've had that problem. Usually when my ADD meds give up.
So we are not rebroadcasting this at 8:00 because we've decided, since it just sits here on Facebook anyway, people can find it.
And when we rebroadcast it, it just makes another copy.
Yeah, so there's 2 copies that sit inside of the files on like Facebook and Twitch of the same show if we rebroadcast it. So
since we do this once a week, that would end up with being 100 episodes of which 50 of them are just dupes of the other 50,
Mhm.
which is ridiculous, and that's silly.
So
don't expect Mr. Blurry Face over there to
No.
show up again tonight,
what if I do
because
this?
he's not going to.
And if I do this?
Now he's
No, that didn't work.
no. You're just having a hard time focusing, Troy.
guess
That's
so.
all. It's
No,
fine.
it's the softer filter for the
Yes.
There we
for
go.
the 50s style movie.
It's not. See, it's not following. It's not.
It's
not following
determined.
her.
It is
So
absolutely
it's only
determined. You're just
focused if
Squirrel
it's right
Girl
in
now.
front. Yeah.
That's who you are. You're
Yeah.
just represented by your avatar, which is Squirrel Girl. Hey, that's a good avatar if you're gonna do it. I mean, you do it.
Which better than me.
Yeah,
Also,
Squirrel
I also
cooler
have the
than you.
squirrel, so I could do just the squirrel. So
the squirrel from Squirrel Girl.
tippy toe.
I don't know.
Hey, there you are.
Hey, I'm back.
Yeah, and in
Just
focus.
we have 3 minutes left. So.
Right. Just have 3 minutes. We're good. So that's the story of all of us and our respective others.
At
And
least
all
that's
three
what
of
we're
us
telling
have,
you.
after that time, we all then generated offspring, which now all hang out together as the next generation of weirdos. And that's the thing. So there you go.
I don't know where you're going with that.
Which I've noticed that in our group, we are super male heavy. Like there are a lot of boys and not that many girls. And I think that's very interesting. But I think that's also because Troy tips the scales quite a bit.
Well, we had to buy one, get one free. So
Yeah, totally.
I mean, what
Yeah,
about poor Tara? She's outnumbered.
He's got one for the farm,
Yep.
one for the
Right.
army, and one for the church.
Exactly. That's the way it's supposed to be.
So what do we want to talk about?
have one for everybody.
Do we want to plug next Monday? We want to try to use this last minute to think of an idea for what we might want to talk about.
Any ideas down there, Xanderman?
No, not really. I mean, I brought up Valentine's because it's today's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I guess next time is President's Day ish.
We are not going to touch that.
We all have like. Well, no, I think.
I think we're all on the same page. We try not to like overwhelm our podcast with all of our laser focused opinions that are together. When's the isn't Genghis Khan coming up? Isn't that the next one coming up?
And Brent was asking about WhimsyCon.
I thought WhimsyCon got moved to the autumn. Is it back in spring?
I don't know. That's what I said. I said, ask me when we are on Geek Tank, because when I'm in my show mode, I'm completely in a different mindset.
So yeah, February 24th to 27th is Genghis Khan, so it's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Did we hear back from them ever?
No, but I have an email I need to contact through there and see what's going on. But yeah, we might be able to do some live broadcasting from there if they'd like us to do so.
Yep.
What we could, I don't know how much homebrewing ideas you've implemented into your gaming style as a GM guy. But I know I've got a bunch, and I'm pretty darn sure Alex has some. We could just talk about homebrews, our ideas for homebrew role-playing stuff.
That sounds like an awesome idea. Actually, I do a lot of homebrewing. As you know, I run like ICE tables all the time, so we could definitely talk about.
I believe we can have 4 people in here. So I don't know if Dan's going to be in the middle of the workday or not, but he's one of our other awesome people we know that does GM stuff. I'll see if he can't possibly make it for a show next Monday.
Sounds good to me. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think so, Donald. Since they're knocking out the mandates on masks, even if they weren't knocking out the mandates, I'm pretty sure cons would still be kicking back up. The thing that was hurting cons was the restriction on the number of people allowed inside of buildings.
Yeah, Nandes Con was live last September. Mile High Con was live last October. So no, cons are back.
Yeah,
maybe some of them didn't survive, or maybe some of them were kind of waiting around a little bit. Like I know WhimsyCon was usually in the spring because I was going to go to my first WhimsyCon, and then the Rona blew up.
Yeah,
but then I'm pretty sure they moved to autumn for their comeback show.
I think they were right in that point when another rise was starting, and that's why they decided to postpone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know what they're doing this year because I would still love to go. I haven't gone yet.
Well, I feel like looking at the rates and stuff like that. We were looking at the rates and how many people were getting infected and how many people were dying, and it looks like we're down to about 23 deaths per week at this point in time here in Colorado, which is pretty decent. It's coming down quite a bit. New York is still up in something ridiculous, but so don't travel to New York. I'm assuming LA is no better. Probably Houston's in pretty bad shape, and Chicago, but at least for Denver, we're coming down into something reasonable. So we're in this family, we've decided to kind of stand down a little bit as well. So
Yeah, in fact, we were going to get together Friday, but then
we're going to get together.
Nature said no.
Yeah, then it snowed, and I'm like, I'm not driving in snow because no, I don't have to, so I'm not going. It's like,
oh, we're at 101. We're at 101, people.
All right, let's roll it up.
okay, I will talk to you guys later, and that will be cool. And Alex, I'll see you after the show. I guess I'll see you both after the show. But that's all the time we have for today. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.